What's up, everybody? Welcome
What's
to
up,
another
Mark?
episode. Hi, Joe. Hi, Joe. Welcome to another episode of Police Off the Cuff After Hours. My name is Mark DeMeo. I'm your host. Tonight, sitting in as my co-host is a frequent guest. What's wrong? I'm stuttering right now. Is a frequent guest of our show. Yeah, he's a contributor. He's a former New York City police officer turned attorney, and he's brought one of his clients in today, and we're very excited to have him. But first, let's welcome Joe Murray.
Thanks, Mark. Glad to be here. Thanks so much for having me and Joe on here. It's a really, really exciting opportunity for us, and I think you're going to love it.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm very excited for our guest tonight. What can I say? He's had a million jobs. First of all, I think he was born in Puerto Rico, but you could say he's a native New Yorker. He's lived all over the place, 24 different places, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
As soon as he graduated high school here, for some reason, he volunteered to go to Vietnam. That should have put him in a psych ward anyway, right off the bat. And then, to make matters worse, when he came home from Vietnam after getting injured over there, he became a New York City police officer. And while on the job, he had an occasion to run into some corruption. We have a lot of fans of the show. People always ask me, why don't you talk about corruption? Well, tonight we'll talk about it on the NYPD. This goes back to the prime time of corruption with the in the 70s. And after he lost his job, he had a million other jobs that he's going to tell us about. But we're very excited to have him. He's also an author. He wrote 4 books, and he's gonna tell us all about them tonight. What's up, Joe Sanchez?
Thank you for having me. And by the way, thank Bill Cannon for having me as well.
All right, I will. My last name is really Sanchez too, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. DeMeo's a stage name.
Really?
My real name is Mayo Sanchez.
Mira para allá, look at that.
My Next. That's a very Dominican name. You're Boricua, right?
Boricua, born in Puerto Rico, Santurce, 1947.
No, really?
Yeah, I came to the mainland in 51, 52. My parents moved here, and we moved to the Lower East Side. And from there on, we kept moving on. I'll tell you about that.
Doesn't it look great? Man, I still would be nervous about going with him. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
I
said you were born in How old are you?
74 years old.
Yeah, you look great, man. We should all be there.
I play softball. I play softball with the West Volusia Senior Softball League.
You mentioned that. You mentioned that before we went on the air. You said you guys play at night. Like,
we play at night. We
is
play
that a joke?
Also.
You got like 80-year-old guys out there playing at night.
Well, we got some 80-year-old, but we started 60, and we got some great ball players. Yes. Yes.
But do they turn on the lights for you guys?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, I was nervous.
Double header starts at 7. Second game ends about 8:15, and then that second game starts. And sometimes we'll help with the second game. I'll jump in and I'll play a double header.
amazing.
Really? And they make you run the bases and stuff?
Of course.
Really?
I want to. Not bragging. If anybody's watching from my league, I'm one of the best left fielder they have. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. I played ball when I was a kid. My brother Louis Sanchez. We play ball all the time. Not just big ball. We play baseball.
Yeah, I have family in Washington Heights, my Dominican side of the family, and I played softball every day. You name it, basketball, softball, everything. And then in Astoria too, I also played sports. But softball is very, very competitive in the Heights, and I would imagine in the Bronx too. My uncle used to play competitive. You know, a lot of money gets exchanged, a lot of beer gets drunk,
Right.
but it's a very competitive game.
Right.
You know?
But let's get ready to rumble and talk the talk and walk the walk.
All right. So tell me a little bit about volunteering for. You were in high school, and what made you want to go to Vietnam? Where were they in?
I graduated from Theodore Roosevelt in 1965, and I was 18 years old, and I had gone to Samuel Gompers to be an auto mechanic, but I told my dad, get me out of here. I don't want to be an auto mechanic. So I was transferred back to Roosevelt because I lived in 181st Street in Washington Avenue after moving from the South Bronx. And but if you want, we can get into that. But if you want to talk about corruption,
I just want to know, like you mentioned something about going to that place every day and trying to go. What was it? What are you talking about?
well, the thing is, I took the airport the Air Force exam, but I just I didn't score high enough.
Mhm.
So I went down to Broadway and what was it?
Whitehall?
43rd Street, the recruiting station. And you take a half an hour exam, vocabulary exam, English, and a little math. And from then, once you pass that, they send you down to Whitehall. You get there 7 in the morning, and you got to go through all these exams, physical, whatever. By 12 o'clock, they give you a ticket and they send you off for lunch. When you come back, more exam. By 3 o'clock, they start calling names. And those that they call are told, you're not going into the service, go home. My name, 3 o'clock, came up. Sanchez, Jose, go home. I'm not going to go into the Navy. Not today, kid. So I would go home disappointed. I wait a while, and I said, wait, the Marine sounds great. So I went over to Hunts Point, and I walked into the recruiting station. I said, I want to be a Marine. Said, you came to the right place, kid. Took the exam, same exam, half an hour. Walrus, tedious, tenacious, which I am. Simple. Now what? Well, we're going to send you down to Whitehall. I go down to Whitehall again. And same medical exam, same proctologist. You would look down, check your butt, et cetera, et cetera. 12 o'clock, ticket, lunch, 3 o'clock. Names will call these guys. When we call your name, you go home. You're not going to the service. Sanchez, again, I'm not going to be a Marine. Not today, kid. And so I decided to go out to Fordham Road and to the recruiting station at Fordham Road. As soon as I walked in there, I spoke to the sergeant, and I told him I want to join the Army. You came to the right place, kid. Take the exam. Took the same exam. And then he says, listen, what's next? We're going to send you down to Whitehall. I said, look, see this, look, these are needle marks. I can't give enough blood. I've given enough blood. What's the story, kid? So I told him. So he says to me, I'll tell you what, kid. He called up, gave him my Social Security number. He said, okay, I know what the problem is. Can you tell me? No, I can't tell you. Come back in 6 months. So I went home disappointed. Somebody told me, go to your board.
But this is before the draft, right?
No, the draft was on.
Yeah, but wait a minute. That's the problem I'm having with right now. If there's a draft, and you weren't going to wait until your number came up. You just wanted to go.
No, I was trying
He's
to
gonna
listen.
tell you.
I was trying to listen. Yeah. So I went down to my local board, and I went up and I saw this one lady, and I told her, listen, how do you get drafted? I want to be drafted. And she says, she said, stand right here. I'll be right back. She came up with this big old book. My name was there. Says, sign here. I signed it. And I said, when am I leaving? Says, you'll be notified. Within a few weeks, a month, I received a token from the President of the United States, Johnson, to report to the Whitehall. And this time around, at 3 o'clock, they never called my name. I took the oath to enter the Army, and was one of the. I felt so great. I felt like a man. I'm now a soldier of the United States of America. I'm going to defend my country. And from there on, they sent me to Fort Dix for about 3 weeks. And from there on, after that, we went to. I was sent with other new recruits to Fort Carson, Colorado, for training, and that's where I took my basic training before I went to Vietnam.
And well, we'll come back to Vietnam because I know you're really excited to tell this story. You're back from Vietnam. You got hurt, and now all of a sudden you want to be a cop, right?
You got to tell him on his birthday.
I got wounded on my birthday. You're right. I was a rifleman at the time. I was a rifleman. I was always a forward observer. And I was on my 20th birthday during a firefight. Four of us were wounded. George White, Robert Martinez, the medic, Sergeant Fred Booker. I was his radio man, and he got hit pretty bad. He spent 8 months in the hospital. Martinez spent about 16 months in and out of the hospital. The grenades can do a lot of damage. And George White was also wounded. I was wounded. I spent some time in the hospital. And when I got home, I got 40% disability. And I took the exam for the NYPD in 1968. And they did everything they could to keep me off that job. But that's another story. And I failed the height requirement.
Did they tell you to go to Whitehall Street?
No. When you take the exam, once you pass the exam, the written exam, you got to go for get investigated for the job. And my first investigator, I'll be honest, listen, I'm telling you, my first investigator was an Irish guy.
You scared him, huh?
Though there weren't many Puerto Ricans back then. We were lucky if they had maybe 300-400 Puerto Ricans on the job. Now, what is it? 1/3 of NYPD is Latinos. And he just discouraged me because he asked me, have you ever been arrested? And I said, yeah, when I was 11 years old, I got arrested because I was the lookout for 2 older boys as they broke into, as they tried to pry open a parking meter. The cops locked us up, transit cop, to make it short. I got arrested. He had those records on me. And I said, well, I was 11 years old.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Still
11 years.
They had them. Yes. So he kind of convinced me, kid, this job is not for you. So I walked away. So I drove a cab for a while, and then I became an ambulance driver. I worked in Harlem Hospital and the Old Lincoln Hospital. I worked there until, and then I took the exam for the Port Authority Police. They didn't give me no problem. As far as the height requirements, no problem at all. The NYPD failed me twice for the height. I appealed it, and finally, long story on that.
What was the height back then? 5'10"?
It was it was 5'7". When Bo Dietl got on, I think it was 5'8". Bo Dietl took the exam, it was 5'8". Then they lowered it to 5'7" to get so-called Latinos in. But then even the non-Latinos were able to come in. But as you notice, Latinos are not short anymore. Look at the ball players. Look at the cops. We're tall. I mean, it's the food we're eating now. But back then, it was 5'7". And I just missed it by a 1/4 inch, but I finally stretched and I got it. And so I took the Port Authority exam, and they called me. So I did 3 years with the Port Authority. And then when I got notified that the NYPD also wanted me to come down for medical, they made a mistake. They called me by mistake.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When I took the medical, I was in perfect shape. They flunked me. I got that story in my book too, but I'm trying to speed this up a little bit. So I went down to all slip. They told me it's not you don't have a problem with your medically. You don't have a problem. It's your character. Wow, so when I went to the old slip station by the Brooklyn Bridge, there was a sergeant, a black sergeant there, whose job was to help the minorities get in because for some reason they were just weeding us out, it's the truth, not to come on the job. He opened up my file and he said this, and he saw something there. He said, it's nobody's business of what happened to you here, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to reopen your case. So they assigned my case to an Italian investigator. And before you know it, he's calling me on the phone, telling me, you got a problem. What's the problem? Your wife at the age of 14 got a YD card, a JD card. I said, you got to be kidding me. She's 14, and she shouldn't even have you shouldn't even have these records. So in the long run, he finally tells me, I'm not recommending you for the job. You're gonna have to go up. You're gonna have to go in front of the board. And I was
it's a little different now.
Oh yeah, but I was a Port Authority cop. I'm a cop already, and he's trying to tell me I'm not good enough for the NYPD.
Yeah.
So
now,
I had to go. I had to go.
You could have a felony now with a
gun.
Not
back then. I had to go. I had to go in front of 3 captains. One was neutral, one was for you, one was against you. And when I went in front, I told my story to them. Combat vet, came to right from Vietnam, took the exam. I drove an ambulance. I was an ambulance driver. I told them my whole story. And once they heard that, I think within 3 weeks, I got a letter to report to the police academy. That's how I got in. I had a fight. It took me 5 years to become an NYPD cop. And that was one of the best jobs I ever had. I loved that job. I could have done that job for nothing. You didn't even have to pay me, but I had a family.
How many years did you wind up staying on the job?
12 years. 12 years and 3 years with the Port Authority and 2 years when I became a New York State correctional officer. After I was a cop, I went to Sing Sing as a cop.
Well, we'll get there. Let's go. I'm trying to get to how much time did you have on the job before you have one incident that involves corruption that kind of
1983, my partner Herman Velez and I, we made a good collar on 162nd Street. We locked up some drug dealers. Okay, one had a gun. The guy that secures the apartment to let the buyers in, and then escorts them right out. We saw this guy with a gun. We made a bust. One of the drug dealers alleged that I ripped them off. Not my partner. I did. When they were questioned by Internal Affairs, the other 5 drug dealers, they told Internal Affairs that they asked him, did Joe Sanchez rip you off? No. Did he rip this other guy that's claiming he took? No. So that was good for me. Except after this incident, I became a whistleblower. I reported 2 bosses for corruption. I wore a wire. I went down to Poplar Street.
Yeah, but how did you? Let's go back. How did you witness the corruption?
I worked in the 3O. How did?
Oh, the 30-30. Yeah, everybody know. Well, not everybody.
Well, that
Most
was
people know
before
about
they
it.
even dubbed it the 30-30.
But when you were there, what was it that you saw?
With this particular lieutenant,
The one that got you, the one that you blew the whistle.
This particular lieutenant, right? When I was on his good side, okay, I used to play softball with him. All right? He shows me. He goes to the Dominican Republic having sex with underage girls. I'm talking 15, 14 years old. Shows me these photos because he thought I was one of his boys. That's something I did not like at all. Now, then I had information. He would come in on his off-duty time, pick up an unmarked car to do whatever business he was doing. He was involved in also giving guns, all right, to people he should have been giving guns. I'm talking about either drug dealers, you name it, he was doing it. I had this information because I had a good informant also, and I had him. And it came a time that I reported him. Also, my captain was covering that up. He covered it up. I also reported him. It came to the time when Internal Affairs asked me to come down to Poplar Street to wear a wire where I can get the proof on this lieutenant and also on the captain. And I wore a wire. I met with one particular fella who had a business, a supermarket business. He gave me enough. I picked it up on the wire, enough information on the lieutenant and the captain. But for some reason, it stopped. It stopped. After I got this information, I didn't hear too much about Internal Affairs. It just stopped. And it came to a point where eventually I was indicted.
Let me stop you for a second. So you're wearing a wire for a number of days.
Yes.
And when you captured some information that you thought would be helpful in order to get an indictment, you stopped wearing the wire.
No, I stopped wearing the wire because Internal Affairs didn't want to know anything else. They stopped. That's it. Hey, when am I going to wear the wire again? We'll let you know. They stopped the investigation.
They took the wire back. So you were under the impression, they shut it down. You were under the impression that they had enough information.
Yes.
First, right?
And it didn't go nowhere.
But they didn't do nothing with it.
No, I became the target.
Did anybody find out about the wire? Were you just like a sitting duck at this point? Like, did it become common knowledge in your precinct that you wore a wire, that you were trying to get this lieutenant?
They leaked it. Internal Affairs leaked it to the lieutenant, and the captain knew about it. And the lieutenant knew about it because other cops approached me, and they told me, Joe, they're going to get you. Who told you that? The lieutenant. They're going to lock you up. I said, for what? I couldn't tell them that I was wearing a wire, and I thought they were going to go after the lieutenant and the captain. It never happened. The hunter became the hunted. So what they did was, on the arrest that Herman and I made, on the allegation was already unsubstantiated, I was cleared by Lieutenant John Verwith. Somehow they got back to all these drug dealers who were facing time for the arrest that we made for the cocaine in their possession. And they told them, if you testify, each and every one of them, if you testify that Joe Sanchez ripped you off in a grand jury, we'll dismiss the indictment on all of you. And they did. But I didn't have a chance to speak to the grand jury. Had I been arrested first, then I could have told my lawyer, I want to speak to the grand jury, bring my partner in. I want to tell my story. But in the grand jury, you only hear one side. The way I defended myself was I had to go to court and prove my innocence. And I did. I had jurors later on writing letters on my behalf that I should be back on the job. The Daily News wrote me up saying injustice system KO super cop. When Charlie Joe Hines Thomas Duffy was the one that indicted me in 1983 with his henchman Joe Hester. Okay, I had immunity. By immunity means when Herman and I arrested these drug dealers, when we went to see the 88 and 100 Center Street, I told him, listen, one of the drug dealers is a legend. I ripped them off. That DA should have said, in that case, tomorrow when we walk into the grand jury, before we walk into the grand jury, you're going to have to waive your immunity. He never told me that. We never signed. So once we got a true bill on the drug dealer, the law says you can't touch Joe Sanchez nor his partner. When they indicted me, when they wanted to indict me, Thomas Duffy knew it. He said, we can't indict Joe Sanchez. He has immunity. You know what they said? Indict him anyway. They broke the law. They violated my civil rights.
So bad.
It was so bad. that I even had a captain who used to be a lieutenant in my precinct. When I got arrested, 2 days later, he was transferred to the 2-3 as a captain. And I heard that he wanted to talk to me. I called him up. I said, "What? Hey, I heard you made captain." I told this guy, and he says, "Yes, I just wanted to let you know they got nothing on you. They got nothing on you."
And Estevillo, too.
Estevillo, chief of patrol, he retired chief of patrol. The day I was supposed to be, in other words, I was home watching The Prince of the City with the story of Bob Lucy. We were friends, before he passed away a few years ago. And I was transferred already. Again, my story is too long, but I was transferred to the court division because I had turned in my guns because of what they were doing to me. I was under a lot of pressure. I got a call from the borough commander in Manhattan. Says, "I hear you want to go back to work." Yes. "I don't want to go back to the 3-0. Send me to the 3-4. They sent me to the 3-4. The word was out. There was an indictment coming out on me. I didn't know it. So I'm watching the Prince of the City when I get a call from a lieutenant in the 3-4, Officer Sanchez. "Yes, I just came on a telegram. You're to report Monday to Poplar Street. And if I were you, I'd get a lawyer." He hung up the phone. So I figured maybe it was just see if he could wind me up again. But when I called Poplar Street the next day, the sergeant that used to wind me up, first thing I told him was, "Hey, Sarge, is this where I had that feeling. Is this where the hunter becomes the hunted?" He said, "Yeah." "What's the story?" "The case that you made, the arrest that you made with Herman Velez on April 13, 1982, well, they turned the table on you. You've been indicted. You've been indicted. It states that you ripped them off. So report to Poplar Street, bring your guns, et cetera, et cetera. We're not going to cuff you. What? I mean, it was a freaking nightmare. My wife is sleeping. I'm saying, my kids, what am I going to do? I waited till the next morning. I went over to Nick. He lived in my development, and I cried. He can tell you in the kitchen, not out of fear, but they betrayed me. The NYPD betrayed me and my family, and they wanted to send me to prison for something I didn't do. So Nick stayed with me. I met him at the 2-4 precinct. He stayed with me when I went to Poplar Street. They printed me, and then I said, "What's the charge?" "Burglary in the first degree." Burglary in the first degree. I was working. I had a gun. Burglary in the first degree, 7 charges of grand lawsuit, and 1 assault, third-degree assault. The black drug dealer said I slapped him. That's not even an assault in the 3rd degree. So Nick stayed with me through the process, through central booking. It was embarrassing. I'm going through central booking. They know me there. When the two internal affairs guys bring me in, people down there thought I was bringing them in, that I was arresting them. And through there, I went to 100 Center Street to get the B number. Then I across the street to 111 to see the judge. PBA attorney comes over to me and says, "I'm Paul Brenner. I'm the best they got." As soon as he told me this, I said, "I got a problem here." Okay, I had a problem. So I'm waiting to be arraigned, and they bring this guy named Silvio Perry. He says, "What are we waiting for? My wife is worried. I got to get home." There's another cop detective coming in. They got him for taking $50 or something. He's going to be arraigned with you. What does that have to do with me? So they waited. So we both were arraigned at the same time. Comes in the newspaper that it made it look like I was with Perry, like we were in cahoots together. I mean, terrible what the media can do for you. They only do it because of what the police department told them. And I was embarrassed. My kids were embarrassed. It took me 1.5 years to go to trial to prove my innocence. Okay.
What are you doing? What are you doing in the meantime?
Well, my partner Susan Medici, who was the first awarded the Combat Cross, I got into a shooting incident with her. When she was awarded the Combat Cross, they didn't give it to me because they didn't like me. I'm with her. I'm with Susie. I guided her. She was a great cop, but most of my partner loved working with me because I was the guy that smelled the trouble. I knew where to go. Okay, so she got me a job working for home security with her then. It was Dennis.
To point out, Joe was involved in 7 shootings.
7 shooting incidents.
Smell it. And he would find trouble, like he was a magnet.
I was the magnet.
That's why he loved this job and loved to do it. He just had that instinct.
Yeah. You were the guy I avoided working with.
So I work with home security. I got another story. I wound up making it was a great arrest there because of the what do you call it, the pound. I used to have to check I was the guards there at night, and they were letting cars in. They were paying them off in the morning. They were telling people, hey, who owe $5,000 or $500, we'll give you your car at night. That's another story. I broke that. I'm the one that.
Well, let me ask you something. 7 shootings. I mean, I don't think you could. How many shootings, Joe, you think you could have on the job now before they just sideline you? Maybe 2?
Forget it. Yeah,
well, I had one with the so-called the Pom Pom Bandit. I was working in the 303. He was called the Pom Pom Bandit.
Pom Pom?
The Pom Pom, because he wore a ski hat with a pom
with the ball on top.
Right. I just happened to be working on foot posts on 159th Street, and there was a dry cleaning place there. When this kid who works there doing errands comes over to me and says, "Hey, officer, I was doing the delivery, and I just saw a lady get. There was a black guy, and I saw him with a gun, and he robbed her. Okay, and she took off running into her apartment. I took off running myself. So I was able to locate the lady. I went to the building, knocked on the door. She came out, opened the door, all hysterical. She hadn't called 911 yet. I took the 61. When I went to the precinct, I found out that this was about his 8th or 9th job. I didn't know about it. During roll call, they weren't telling us that because anti-crime wanted to make the collar on the Pom Pom Bandit. He would follow women from the supermarket or store and wait until they got into the building and then hit them there. So once I got this information, every time I came in, I was checked the 61. Oh, he hit again. I said, I'm going to get this guy. And it just so happens, a week later, I'm in the same, it had snowed the night before. I'm in the same post when the kid comes over to me and said, Officer Sanchez, I saw him yesterday. I said, okay, it's 3:30. I got to go back into the precinct. I get off at 4 o'clock. Let me speak to your boss. So I told the boss, listen, you mind if I take this kid with me in my private car and just cruise the area and see if I can catch this so-called Pom Pom Bandit? Shit, no problem. I went to the precinct. One of the black officer, God bless his soul, Charlie Whitfield, he heard what I was going to do, and I said, Joe, pick up the kid and come and get me. Don't go by yourself. But when I went back to the location and asked the kid's boss, hey, where's the kid? He says he's on an errand. He should be back. As I'm waiting, I see this guy passing me by wearing an army jacket, a pom-pom cap. He crosses the street on 159th Street, and now he's going towards 160th Street. When the kid comes over now, okay, I'm ready. There he is. I said, that's it? That's him. Get in the station wagon. He gets in my station wagon, and as I'm following this so-called Pom-Pom Bandit, I'm looking around to see if I see a radio car around, another cop, because I'm by myself. And as I said, when you need a cop, you can't find one. I'm saying to myself, but I am a cop, and I'm not going to let this guy go. As I enter the block, I see him going up the stoops into a building. So I tell the kid, I park not in front of the building, but just on the side of it. And I tell the kid, I'm going in. I don't want to lose him. Stay outside. If something happened, go to that telephone booth down there. Get me some help. We didn't have beepers. I didn't have no cell phone. As I walk into the hallway, just before you go up the step, there he was with a gun out telling an Irish woman with grocery, give me your money or I'll shoot. I walked into a robbery.
Wow.
I pulled out my service revolver. And when I said, police, don't move, she starts yelling. She runs upstairs, help, all the way up. And now the guy sees that I'm by myself. He says, take it easy, officer. I said, take it easy, officer. Take it easy. I'm the cop here. You take it easy. When he moved with the gun, I shot him in the abdomen. He went down. There was a lady on the second floor, heard the shot. She looks down. I tell her, look, I'm a police officer. I just shot a guy. Call 911. But she called it in as cop shot. So my friend, Charlie Whitfield at the prison, he hears call coming, cop shot 160. He thinks I got shot. Long story short, when the units come up, I have to find the victim. When we found the victim, she thought I was with him because she said, I thought you were with him. All she saw was a black cop, sees me with a gun. And I said to myself, I could have been easily shot if there had been 2 detectives or anti-crime cops, plainclothes, on a different job in a different apartment, walking down, and all of a sudden sees me shooting the guy. I can accidentally get shot, friendly fire. So that was one of my shootings. That's how I shot the Pom Pom Bandit.
But you, when you say you have 7 shootings, there was only 4 of them. Yeah, but you said you were involved in 7. 4 of them, you actually fired, and 3 of them you didn't, right? Fire your weapon, right?
Right. I shot another guy inside an apartment. I hit him.
And now people always think when you're involved in a shooting that the cop is the one shooting. Sometimes they just shoot at you.
Yeah, well, there was another shooting incident when I was in the 2-5 precinct, all right?
Mhm.
When I worked in the 2-5 precinct, they thought I was a spy. So most cops stayed away from me. They didn't want to work with me on patrol, except, I'll be honest with you, the Latino cops. We'll work with you, okay? And I just happened to be working one night with this Irish kid. He wouldn't talk to me all night almost. He thought I was in internal affairs. And just before the tour is over, I'll be honest with you, those days are gone. Cops, they drink a little beer if they want to. They don't have to get drunk. It's hot, it's summer. But they guys are always happy to see you. And I'm sitting with this one, I'm driving, and the tour's almost over. And I said, I tell you what, I'm thirsty. I tell, I'm going to get a beer. And I tell, you want a beer? He says, no. You're Irish and you don't want a beer? I walked in, I had my beer, got into the radio car, started driving, made a left turn on 111th Street. I heard something backfiring. Boom! I thought it was a truck backfiring. There was a guy right there on 3rd Avenue on the corner of a gas station with a German Luger shooting at this guy. Boom! Boom! I could see right next to us, right next to the radio car. But he was so engrossed in what he was doing, trying to kill the guy. But there was a girl that froze right next to him. So I said, call in the 1013. While my partner is calling in, he gets out. He takes cover in front of the radio car. I took cover in front of a double park car. I couldn't shoot. He was going to hit the guy again because I held my fire. I locked him. He finally dropped the gun. Had I shot, I could have hit the girl. And this kid was wanted for another shooting. It was in a jewelry store. He shot a customer. After I arrested him, 3 months later, he escaped from Rikers Island. 3 months later, with 3 others. They caught him a year later. The
Who are you
FBI,
talking about, baby?
Excuse me?
Who escaped from Rikers Island?
The young guy that I'd arrested.
What was his name?
His name was Cruz.
Oh, because there was a guy. There was a guy I grew up in my neighborhood. He escaped from Rikers Island with 2 other guys. He was a Greek kid named we used to call him Baby.
No, this was Alex.
This was like 1980, 84, 85, around there.
No, this was Alex Cruz. And this was 1976.
Oh, so actually, I thought we always used to think they were the first people that escaped from Rikers. Let me give a shout out to people that are in the chat right now. What's up, Jamie? Hi, Dawn Marie. Thanks for tuning in, Dawn Marie. Sarah, Claire, Ryan Investigative Group. What's up, Billy? Peter Peranzo. Peter Peranzo's here, author of Harlem Raiders. Smee, Trish Norman, single mom of 4. Good evening, single mom of 4. Marie Green, hello. Venus Gal. Let's see. If you guys have any questions for Joe, feel free to put them up. Hopefully I can get to them. I can pay attention to more than one thing at a time. Ange, hello, Angela. Bill. Joe looks very handsome tonight. He dropped a couple of pounds. Let's see. The Kanab. Kenab. I don't even know how to say that. Jessica Shades, Boxing MMA. Thank you, all of you guys, for tuning in tonight. 10, Edwina 10, Smee, Venus Gal, Liz Embry. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. Audrey Cito, Trish Norman. Hello. Hello, everybody. Joe's a great guest. Before we continue going on with it, let me just we have our sponsor here tonight, actually. It's pretty cool. He's with us as a guest, but he's also he's doing the right thing. He's trying to help us out here. And here we go. Folks, if you get in trouble, make sure that you have this phone number in your pocket, this email address in your phone as well. jmurray-law.com. Joe not only was a former NYPD police officer, now he's an attorney. He's an officer. He was an officer. He's a gentleman. See how I did that?
Nice.
And he's got one of his clients on the show tonight. He'll be in your corner. He'll fight for you. You couldn't ask for a better lawyer. Take this phone number down, 646-838-1702, and make sure that you have this email address, jmurray-law.com. He's available for you. And trust me, if I got into trouble, I'd want to have Joe in my corner as well. Let me just show you a couple of pictures here. That is, look at that handsome face, huh? That is Joe Sanchez in his regalia. Look at that rack. That's some rack. What are
Look
those
at that.
Are those
Talk about
EPDs?
polish my rack.
No,
Look
no,
at
no,
that.
no, no, no. If you have an EPD and
I'm
you get
kidding.
numbers, I always put numbers. I never put another EPD. No.
I know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Joe.
Just,
Relax. Is that you in Vietnam?
yes, wearing glasses there.
Yeah, man, that's something else. Whenever I think about people that had to go to Vietnam, I always like, and then the people that like for you that volunteered, because you always hear about the people that you know,
Right.
tried whichever way to get out of it, but you were actually down there volunteering.
Yeah. I was 19 when that photo was taken.
And where is this? This is
These
corrections.
are my friends. That's that's Al Bermuda's right there with the sitting down. I worked with them at Sing Sing. That's Sing Sing. That's B
Sing
Block.
Sing is up in Ossining, New York, right?
Yes, I worked there after I wanted to get my guns back and I became a correctional officer. That's Al. That's I believe that's B Block or A Block. That's Al Bermuda's again, right there.
Okay,
Tough
so
place,
that's
Sing Sing.
yeah, huh?
I met guys I locked up there.
Is this
That's
one of the
another
guys
story.
right here? Is this one of the guys right here?
That's Velez. He killed Glover and Reddy. Yes.
Now those.
I'll tell you that story. I'll tell
Those
you.
were
Yeah,
officers.
I tried to capture him the next day when he killed the officer. I went after him.
Are these the pictures? Wait a minute. Let me see something here. I think we have pictures of that. Is this from that?
Yes, right there in front. There's a.
Tell us about the incident. How did this? What happened here?
Okay, I had information about the Aviles gang. Okay, I worked in the 90 precinct, and I was a street cop, so I had an informant.
And I know is Brooklyn, for our audience.
Well, see this photo right there on the right hand side. That's the RMP that Glover drove that night with Sergeant Frederick Reddy. Now below here, where you saw the one officer taking prints. That's Luis Velez's convertible. That's Luis Velez's red convertible, and he had the license plates were from Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And this is after he killed both of the officers.
So, so was this over? Tell us the incident.
Okay, that photo is with the killing of Lori and Foster.
No, we'll go back to that. We don't want to mix up the stories. Let's stick to the first story.
Okay.
Tell us about the incident with the two officers. Was it a car stop?
Well, see, I had information about this gang called the Aviles gangs, and I went to my captain and my commanding officer in the 90, and I tried to tell him, listen, you got a gang here. They're not kids. These guys even work with mafia. They're involved in heroin and so and so. And all he told me was, it's not Park Avenue, so let them kill each other. And I said, he said something like, you know, F you so and so, let them kill each other. I said, they don't always kill each other. One day, a cop, who knows, two cops are going to run into these bad guys and they're going to get killed. So Andy Glover was a friend of mine. He worked at the night precinct. I reached out to him and he had me talk to his commanding officer. And I visited his commanding officer and told him about the activity of these gang and that they were in the process of robbing a bank. Told me the same thing. Let them kill each other. So Andy advised me to go to intelligence. So I gave the information to intelligence. I was a rookie cop in the 90, but I already spent 3 years with the Port Authority. So I had information they were going to rob a bank. But I got so discouraged that I said, I'm not getting involved no more. I'm out. On September 16th, 1975, the alarm woke me up in the morning to go to work. 10/10 winds. You haven't heard the news until you heard it from us. 2 New York City police officers were shot and killed on Avenue B and 5th Street. Sergeant Frederick Reddy and police officer Andrew Glover. And I jumped out of the bed and I said, look, Ray, mataron a Andy. I felt bad. Mataron a Andy. So I went to work. I was doing an 8 to 4 in the 90. When my tour was over, I jumped over to the night precinct, showed my badge to the lieutenant at the desk, went upstairs, and I said to one of the detectives, any information on the shooter? He says, yeah. Go to the board and you'll see him robbing the bank in Williamsburg. And I saw him, but Velez was wearing a bandana, and then he took it off. So what I was saying would happen, what I predict, happened. I stole one of the photos that they had there. I'm always stealing photos. So one of his photos Took it to my informer. I said, you know this guy? I said, yeah, I know him, Joe. I went out there. He lived on 20 Clinton Street. I got another cop from the night to help me. I missed him. He had already left his apartment. Louis Velez was hiding out in the Bronx. So when I went to see Louis in prison back then, 2000. That's another story in 12. But when I was a correction officer, he came into Sing Sing while after he did the 13 months in federal prison. He came in when I was working at Sing Sing, okay, to do the time for the cop killing.
Bank job. That was another bank job he did, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But
was he ever charged with the killing the police officers?
Of course. No. What happened was I went to see Louis. Okay, I missed catching him the day before after he killed Glover and Reddy. He was caught on 10th Avenue. He was hiding in another apartment on 20-something and 10th Avenue. He was in the first floor apartment. So the lieutenant that handled the case had a telephone number to that apartment. He called up, and the guy that was hiding Louis' nickname was Blackie, picked up the phone, and the lieutenant says, Blackie, the cops are out there. Run. So Louis had a homemade grenade he would use to rob banks, okay? Took his homemade grenade, took his 38, ran out, and they grabbed him as he came out of the apartment. Mm-hmm. And as he came out of the apartment in the commotion, an elderly couple heard the commotion, opened up the door, and the officers told him to go back into the apartment. This is police business. So they says, let's throw him off the roof. So Louis tells me by the time they had him up in the third floor, they were going to throw him off the roof. Mm-hmm. He says, another cop came up, bring him back down. That elderly couple saw us with him. So Louis told me that elderly couple saved my life. So I told Louis, if I was there, I would have thrown you off the roof too. I told Louis. He kind of, laughed because I told him, you killed 2 cops. You killed my friend, Louis. But I went to see him in prison because I wanted him to tell me the story. What happened? What happened to these cops? How did you shoot him? He told me. He was in his car on Avenue B about 9:30, 10 o'clock. He dropped off one of his buddies. My father used to live on 2nd Street, just 3 blocks away. I dropped off my buddies. As I'm making the turn into 5th Street, here comes Glover with the sergeant, and they pulled me over. I double parked it. They had me for a traffic violation. But Glover parked the car in front instead of the rear, okay? So Glover got under the car. I got out of the car to ask him for his license and registration. I said, where was the sergeant? Was he watching you by the passenger side like we normally do? He said, no, standing right where Glover, right there. Glover asked me to show him my license and registration. I had the registration to my car, but I didn't have a license. I had my gun hidden underneath my African shirt. And I knew what he was going to do. But he said, Joe, I was high on coke. I was paranoid. I wanted a way out. I wasn't thinking right. So I used a ruse. There was a guy standing on the sidewalk. And I said to Andy and the sergeant, look, he knows me. Ask them. They looked. As soon as they looked, I pulled out my gun. When Andy looked at me, I said, did he say anything to you? Yes. What he said, shit, boom, I hit him once. Boom, I shot the sergeant. Boom, I hit Andy once. He hit Andy in the chest. And we didn't wear bulletproof vests at the time, and hit him in the head. Andy went down holding his license. He says he got out of the car to run back to Avenue B, which was right there where he dropped his buddy off. Sergeant Frederick Reddy fired 3 shots at him. He fired 3 shots at me, Joe. 1 past my ear. I had 2 shots left. I shot him. But he missed them because the 1 bullet that hit Sergeant Frederick Reddy was by the aorta. He was bleeding out, but he was able to take 3 shots at him. 3 shots. Mm-hmm. And that's how he made his escape. But he told me, they let me kill him. They looked. They should have never looked. They should have kept an eye on me. And that's stories I tell because I want to prevent other cops. Just because you wear a uniform doesn't mean you're street savvy. I've seen cops make so many mistakes. Whenever I spoke, if you were working with me, Mark, and we had 2 or 3 guys, you search them, I watch. And if you talk to me and I'm talking to one perp, and you say, Joe, I say what? Without taking my eye off the perp. Because that happened to 2 Port Authority cops I worked with who I graduated at the bus terminal were shot because they did that. They had 2 guys instead of 1 cop watching him. One of the officers turned his head. The guy with the gun got shot. And I learned that as a Port Authority.
Let me ask you a question here.
Go ahead.
Because I asked the audience if they had it. Trish Norman asked Joe about his delusion with the system after this experience and how he deals with it today.
I have PTSD, not just from Vietnam, because of what happened to me in Vietnam, and I lost buddies and seeing dead soldiers. Okay, and I cried for them. But like any job, just like a detective who responds, can tell you, a homicide case, you don't let it bother you while you're working. You can't. You do your job. But when I came home, I'll be honest with you, I was taking therapy. I couldn't tell the police department because they would have took my guns away. I went back to work. Those are things that bothered me in Vietnam because of what I saw. And when I got wounded, my sergeant falls next to, I couldn't help him. I was paralyzed with the concussion of the grenade. That bothered me for years. Now I'm seeing different. Now I'm working in the concrete jungle of the city of New York, and I'm trying to be a good cop, and I'm a boss fighter. I'm the enemy. That's why my book is called True Blue: A Tale of the Enemy Within. I become the enemy. Okay, it took me a while before cops started. Every time I went to a prison, they drop a dime on me saying, "Watch him, he's internal affairs." Once I got involved, maybe in three shootings, they started, wait, this guy can't be IAD. He's getting involved in too many collars. He's getting involved in shooting at people. He ain't internal affairs.
What was your nickname on the job?
The arrest machine.
The
arrest machine. And I was also, then the Daily News wrote me up as a super cop. Injustice system, KO, super cop. Because when I tried to fight back for my job and I went to the appellate court to get my job back, my lawyer, who for the PBA, was fighting to get me back on. And even the 5 judges at the appellate court, right there, Madison Street, said to the corporation counsel who's trying to keep me off the job, give him a hearing. But see, a hearing would have opened up a can of worms of what they did to me, and I could have sued them. So they didn't want no part of that. And I was told that wait a year and you get back on the job. No, after a year, I lost the statute of limitation, did it for me. I couldn't sue anymore. But the same corporation counsel that was preventing me from getting on the job, after my case was heard, about 5 o'clock or so, Herman Velez was with me. She comes over to me and says, "May I speak to you privately?" I said, "Sure. I want to tell you something. My job is to keep you off the job, just like you heard me. I work for the city. I work for the police department. But I want to tell you something that if you tell anybody else, I'm going to have to deny." I said, "What is it? I got to get off my chest. What is it?" She used the letter F. All right? They F'd you. I hope you get your job back. They did you wrong. And she walked away. I'm saying, everybody's on my side. I can't get my job back? Benjamin Ward says, no. He broke the police code of silence. He ain't coming back on this job.
Mark, you know, I mean, especially at that time, he's a
that
boss
time was
fighter,
bad.
number one. Number one, he's a boss fighter. Number two, he drops a dime on a lieutenant and a captain. And then they notify the captain and they cook up this thing about some collar he made, making deals with the drug dealers to set him up. But little did they know they're indicted already, and he testified at the grand jury. So he's got immunity from testifying because you have to waive your immunity.
I should have never, I should have never been indicted or arrested. They broke the law. They have immunity. I can't touch them. I can't touch them.
Even though he gets convicted of 1 misdemeanor assault on that case.
The doctors say I slapped him. That's if I did, which I did, that's an harassment. That's not even an assault.
One of the jurors writes a letter, and Charlie Joe Hines investigates the case and really sees what happened. He vacated the conviction, exonerating him.
Yes.
And now he's able to be restored. He's not convicted of anything. Ben Ward was the commissioner back then.
He had the power to do it.
Number one, he's a boss fighter. Number two, he's dropping dimes on captains and lieutenants.
Yeah, let's come back to Ben Ward for a second. But Jamie asks, one of the people in the chat, Jamie, she asks, whatever happened to the lieutenant and the captain?
Nothing. He retired. I hope he's listening or watching. Nothing. The captain died a few years ago.
The job protects its bosses. It always has, and it still does.
Sarah Claire, the world is a better place. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Smee says, sorry. I'm sorry. MC Auto, that was wrong.
He loses his job, and Joe, being the workhorse he is and hustler, taking care of his family, right away he's at the post office. and he's delivering mail.
What?
He's delivering mail to the
I
same
met drug
places
dealers.
where he
I
was
met drug
locking
dealers while I
people
was
up.
delivering the mail.
Tell us a little bit about the delivering the mail. Well, first of all, you were a cop, you were a correction officer, and you were a postman. Which one was your favorite?
No. And Port Authority and NYPD. No. When I couldn't get my job back, I took the exam. I worked for Home Security, and I took the exam to be a letter carrier. And I worked up in Haverstraw for 3 years. And I was able to, I got involved in trying to save the life of this young, that's another story. She stopped breathing, the 10-month-old baby. And I was delivering mail at the time when I tried to save her life. But I was running into guys that knew me. They were drug dealers. Hey, look, there's Joe Sanchez, you know?
Mhm.
And the only protection I had was my dog spray. If they wanted to hurt me, I had nothing but the dog spray. But they would they didn't bother me. But the fact that they recognized me wasn't a good feeling. And then after 3 years with the postal, when I took after being a letter carrier, I applied at the age of 41, 42 to become a correction officer so I could get my guns back, which Internal Affairs vouched at one police plaza. I went through the academy at Harriman. I graduated, went to work at Sing Sing. And who do I bump into Sing Sing? Guys I locked up. I ran into guys I locked up. One guy comes up to me and says, "You're a legend. You know that? They're talking about you." I'm a legend? Yeah. You got balls to come in here to work? Look, there's two guys in that other yard and their yard that you locked up. So I got assaulted 4 times while at Sing Sing. And when I transferred to Coxsackie State Prison, saving an inmate's life, I saved that inmate's life in the yard. It was a black inmate. It all broke out. It was pandemonium. Well, the Latino guy, it was payback, was stabbing him. I managed to grab him, but he attempted to stab me. And then when he pushed me aside, he started stabbing the inmate, and I had to jump the guy. Long story, I saved that black inmate's life. And it came to a point, I told my wife, I can't do this no more. Because one time when I worked at Sing Sing in A Block, there's the tunnel that goes up to the cells. And one inmate says, "Sanchez, they're going to grab you. They're going to shank you inside the tunnel." I says, "They are?" And I says, "Well, I tell you what, tell them to buy tickets and get online. That's the only way I can humor myself and make these inmates live. What am I going to go to my wife and say I can't go back there? Freak that." When I started working there, I used to wear my bulletproof vest that they steal from me in the 3-4 precinct. Okay. And, but it got too hot because a few days after I got arrested, I went to the 3-4 precinct that I was working to get my belongings. Cops broke into my locker and stole my equipment, my medals. They stole everything. I was with my 10-year-old boy, Kevin. As I come down, I meet up with Gary Dugan. I hope you're listening, Gary Dugan. I still have his card in my wallet. For 30 years, I still have his business card. I should have showed it to you. I got it with me. But anyway, I go down and I meet up with Gary Dugan. I says, "You know, Gary, I got arrested 3 days ago. I'm here. One is assault in the 3rd degree. They broke into my locker and they stole it." He said, "I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. We collected some money for you, Joe, because you're not getting paid." "No, I'm not." He tried to hand me $20. $20. He was sending me a message to go F myself. And I told Gary Dugan, I hope he's listening. I says, if it wasn't for the fact, you know my reputation. Drug dealers didn't mess with me. Bad guy, rape, you going to mess with me? If it wasn't because I had my 10-year-old boy here and I'm facing criminal charges, I break your freaking nose and spit in your face and I can't do anything. How dare you insult me in front of my 10-year-old boy? And I walked away. That's the stuff I had to take.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's pretty positive.
Let me tell you how can I tell you how I rescue a girl that was kidnapped and they tried to bring me up on charges on it? I was working into the precinct one day when these 2 Hispanic guys, bodega guys, come over to me to complain about being robbed and put into the refrigerator by 2 Marielitos, Cuban Marielitos, from Mariel Cuba, that Fidel Castro, all this stuff, just like in Scarface, you know. They were working the area, badass guys. And they told me, and this is the second time. Second time? Yeah, they did it the first time a week ago, and they told us that we call the cops are going to kill us, come back and shoot us. They have, guns, automatic. So I took the 61 and I told the smallest guy who wore glasses, I said, tomorrow I'm working an RMP. I want to come over to your store, pick you up, I want to cruise. See, because they say they spotted the guy. They were hanging on Broadway, about 143rd Street someplace. picked up the guy with the glasses, and so we got closer, dropped him off, and says, I had another partner named Fabulous, passed away, God bless his soul. Herman was with me. And I says, we're going to cruise like we're giving summonses or telling people to move their double car. If you see any of them, just take off your glasses and start cleaning them. And I'll watch you from wherever you're at. We're going to keep an eye on you. He did it. And I told him, as soon as you do that, you're going to see the RP. We're going to get out of Broadway, go into the block. You come over, give us the information. He came over, gave it the description. Boom, there was the guy sitting by a building, just sitting there. Got out. Hey, by the way, boom, gun drawn. Got him, locked him up, brought him to the precinct, met the little guy with the glasses, said, that's him. And I told my partner, let's get the second guy. We did it again. Same routine. This time we got a gun. These guys were wanted by the FBI for killing a guy in California. Got him. I'm away for 3 days. As I'm coming into the precinct, this lady says, she knows, she knew who I was, comes over with her brother and says, Sanchez, I need some help. My daughter was kidnapped. We haven't seen her. She's 21 years old, but mentally she's not all there. And the detective that has the case won't be in. It was about 4 o'clock. Won't be until 5 o'clock. The lieutenant's telling me we had to wait. So wait. So I go over to the lieutenant and says, "Hey, she's got $5,000 because they call it on the phone to bring $5,000 and meet them on 181st Street by the telephone booth on the 3-4 precinct." So the lieutenant said, "Mind your business. Sign out and wait for Murray's going to handle the case. Get some other cops. You got cops up, detectives. Help this lady." Didn't want to do anything. Why? She's Hispanic. You don't want to help her? So I told her, wait for me outside, and the brother. They waited for me outside. I signed out. I went with my station wagon, parked it by the 179th Street by the George Washington Bridge, got out, walked with told her to go meet whomever she was supposed to meet. And I told the brother, soon as she hands that envelope, I'm going to grab the guy. You don't speak English. Don't say anything. They're going to think you're a cop because they'll see I'm not by myself. Okay? Did it. Long story short, got the guy, locked him up, cuffed him as I'm walking to the old 3-4 precinct. It was the old on Watchford Avenue. As I'm walking him there, there's a car goes by. He panics. He says, that's the guy that put me up to it. Now I got another car to handle. All right? But he got caught. But I got him before the light changed. We were almost at the precinct. So I was able to tell the guy, grab him, bring him to the precinct, and the lady ran running for help to get me some help. When I tried to grab the key from the guy, he almost took me for a ride, but there was a car in front of him that saved me. Mm-hmm. The guy had a gun. Wow. Long story short, that's how I was able to. There was a third guy with the 21-year-old retarded girl. That detectives went up there, got him. Okay. When I come into work, the lieutenant tells me, I'm going to bring you up on charges for disobeying an order. Mm-hmm. Really? Well, you're going to bring me to the trial room? He says, yeah. Well, good, because I'm writing this up for an award, for a medal. And when I write it up, I'm going to spell it out exactly the way it happened. If that girl had been hurt, that's a lawsuit against the city. So when I went to see the captain, he said, sure, that was a good arrest. You deserve a citation. They should have given me a Medal of Valor many times. They always gave me the lowest. They didn't like me, all right? So he tells me, don't write it up, Joe. Why? Why do you think he told me not to write it up? Who was he protecting? The
obviously the boss, yeah.
Yeah, because if I wrote it up, downtown is going to read exactly what I did with the boss telling me don't get involved. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's not good.
I let it go. So I'm a boss fighter again. This is me, the boss fighter. That's
what
another
story. See, wrong people have great memories. You are a great cop. That comes from SME. Wait up. Let me just get a couple more of these. Everybody's giving you a shout out over here, Joe Sanchez. Just want to make sure you get wrong. Let's see. Sometimes too much red tape. Tam Bennett. Too much red tape to make a dent. Let me see. To make a dent, which is not right. And that, when you're facing red tape with the bosses on your own job, that's not good.
Yeah. No.
We had a lot of people tuning in tonight. I just want to mention to the people tuning in and anybody watches the show in the future, we have a Patreon, Police Off the Cuff on Patreon. If you want to help us out, and join up our Patreon as well as YouTube memberships. Right now we're on YouTube. If you check out the page, you can see how you can join and become a member. And we really appreciate everything that the fans of the show are doing. I know Bill Cannon is doing a great job with his true crime stories and his real time stories. So please, if you can, and join a membership on Patreon, on YouTube. We'd really appreciate it. MC Audio, he's in the house tonight. He's going to be sitting in with me in the near future. Maui Swift, Frank Martin. I'm from Volusia County, Florida. They don't play the bullshit. Ron DeSantis, my governor. Yeah. Everybody wants to move to Florida now. Where are you now, Joe Sanchez? Where are you?
I live in Florida, Deltona, Florida. I want to give a shout out to Altorado, one of my best friends. I have so many. I mean, Susan Medici, Charlie Whitfield passed away. God bless his soul. Altorado, Herman Velez, Negus Novello, Marty Bitterman, Alan Kaplan, I call him Kate, and my good friend David Fisher, and of course, hey, Joe Cirillo. He's listening in. He's tuning in. You had Joe on the show not too long ago. You know what he told me?
What's
they
that?
should make a movie out of your story. Not a movie, a TV series. You got too many stories. You just don't have one story. You just keep going and going and going. I can keep telling you about another incident. I got involved with 2 Rastafarians, another shooting incident with 2 Rastafarians. When I finished with that guy, with the Rastafarian, I missed him. It just went right by his. They had, what do you call it? They were in a smoke shop. Long story on that. But he called me boss all the way to the Arabian. Yes, boss. Yes, boss. Because he said, that's what I took one shot. I was struggling. I took one shot at him. He had the other 9mm. But he kept calling me boss all the way, boss. He almost,
Crime Ghost says, what an amazing story. Much respect. Single mom of 4. Wow, Joe Sanchez stories are getting way more interesting. That's we're running on time here at the hour, but I want to probably ask you, maybe you want to come back and join us again, because I don't think we scratched the surface here.
Yeah. There's so
I'll
much
show you how
here,
I
Mark.
shot Anthony Perkins, not the Perkins in the movie, but how I shot him. There's a funny story too on him. And another shooting incident with my partner, and what happened the night that we took a life. And when that guy that died that night, when I was working with Susie, when she was awarded the Combat Cross, and I was with her, I prayed for that guy. I saw him take his last breath. And I met his father when he was suing the department. And I told him during the hearing, I was there, I prayed for your son. Really want to take his life. I just want you to know that. I told him. Because it's not easy taking a human life. It's not. But
it's amazing what you just said right now. It really is. I can see why Joe Murray has gravitated towards you. I definitely see it. Joe, what is it that you're trying to do for Joe Sanchez?
So this incredible story and the retaliation he suffered because he came forward, and Joe is absolutely fearless. Now, when you think about it, this is a kid out of high school who fought to go to Vietnam. He didn't have to be drafted. He went everywhere trying to get in there. Mm-hmm. Then injured in this grenade attack, him and his buddies over there. He comes back. He works at the police department. Joe wanted this job so bad. You heard the trials and tribulations he went through to make some story up that he stole money. He is not that guy. And if you look, we always talk about this. Past behavior is the best predictor of future conduct. This is not Joe Sanchez. So he was clearly set up. He's an NYPD hero. We are now going to petition for what's called a name clearing hearing because he was terminated from the job because of this case that he was exonerated afterwards by the special prosecutor, Charlie Joe Hines. He vacated the conviction, and that's what allowed him to get other government jobs. So the first step is to clear his name. The second step is we're going to have to go to the city council with this. And that's why I love that you invited us on. We got to get the word out for Joe Sanchez. We want to restore his pay and benefits as a vested retiree. We want to change his status from terminated to vested, so at least he gets whatever benefits he's entitled to at 12 years that clears his name. And I won that just recently for another officer who was set up, and then they ordered him in. He was 11 days from retiring, and they forced him to come in. They said, if you don't leave now, we're going to do an expedited trial and fire you. And it was completely bogus. It's a long story, but in any event, I sued the city, and the city came to us and they said, okay, you know, we're willing to settle. We're going to restore him. He'll work his 11 days under suspension. They don't want to put him in the academy. This is 2017, so he would have to go to the academy. And so he said, we're going to bring him back suspended with pay for those 11, 12 days. And then he'll retire as a full service retiree. He'll get his variable supplement, the whole 9 yards. He didn't even have an ID card. It's shameful what this job does to good cops. And Joe is the best example I could find about being a super cop and putting his life on the line. You heard some of the stories. There are so many more. And this is how the job treated him, like a piece of garbage. So we're going to fight. We're going to work with the new administration, whoever it is, the city council, to correct this long outstanding wrong for an American hero who fought and volunteered to go to Vietnam and served our city and protected us from the worst of this city. So that I'm proud to be able to do it. I'm so humbled after talking to him and learning about his life and what he has sacrificed, you know, to get him to where he is. And he never gave up. Joe Sanchez, that's his tagline, never give up. And I'm so proud to represent him.
Well, yeah, man, maybe that's the if you're a screenwriter out there or you work in producing films, Joe's got 4 books. What are the titles of the books? Let me see what you got here. You got True Blue,
A Tale of the Enemy Within.
True Blue, Latin Blue. So far, they both sound like porn movies. True Blue, The Tale of. Are you sure you're not a porn star as well?
No,
True Blue, A Tale of the Enemy Within, The Red Herring, and Yellow Streak.
And Yellow Streak. That's in regards to guys I work with who had Yellow Streak.
That's the kinky one. That's the kinky porn movie you're in. Yellow Streak.
They wouldn't back me up. But hey, a shout out to Freddie Roman, who my 2-5 precinct partner, and to Bo Diddle. I want to give Bo Diddle credit because he had me on his show, and I want to thank Bo. Bo was a super cop.
Do you work with Bo?
No, he worked in the 2-5. I never worked with Bo, but I knew of his reputation. I know they've One Top Cop. The movie One Top Cop is about him, and but Bo was a tough cop, and you got to give him credit for that.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I'd love to have you back so we can. There's so many more stories. It's very, very hard to squeeze them all in. But let me ask Joe Murray. Any parting words, Joe?
Mark, I love that you had us on the show. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you and everyone else for my hospitalization there. Everyone calling, emailing, sending their well wishes and prayers. You know, I had that COVID. It was nasty. And I survived it. I'm happy to say I feel 100% back. It took a while, but thank you so much. And to all your viewers.
Yeah. I was definitely praying for you. I was definitely nervous. But I'm happy. You look great. I'm happy that you're back with us. And how about you, Joe Sanchez? Like I said, I want to have you back. We'll figure out a date that's convenient for you. And
yeah,
we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, about Sing Sing. You'll laugh at some of the stories I got about Sing Sing. We'll
talk about the books.
Yes.
And do you have an email address or something like that? Well, we can get in touch with Joe, but is there something, an email, like maybe we got somebody who's a producer or a writer?
They can reach out to Joe Murray. He's my lawyer.
All right.
Yeah. He's my lawyer.
That's
but
what
I
we're
want to
looking
thank you. God bless you guys. I want to thank you for having me on. Truly, I really appreciate it. And my Joe Murray's my confidant. Not only that, he's God send. God send.
Yeah, he's a good man, Joe Murray. Before you guys split, I just want to let you guys know about my album. It's called The Bangers. It's very, very funny. It's available on every streaming service right now. There's some cop jokes. There's some jokes that I retired because they've been around for a long time. That's why the album is called The Bangers. Please, I'd appreciate the support. Like I said, wherever you can stream Spotify, iTunes, you name it. It's out there everywhere. So
let me know if you do a show in Orlando anywhere. I'll go. I'll bring some guys with me. Let me know.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to head down there. My mother's in Fort Lauderdale, so if I do, I'll definitely look you up. I would love to hang out with you, get into a couple of shootouts, maybe play some softball in the dark.
Listen, next time I'm going to tell you about 2 shootings that I was involved with, but very funny shooting. I'm telling you.
I can't wait to hear about them. Hopefully, we'll have you on again in a couple of weeks before people, not too much. Let's not let too much time pass. But on behalf of Police Off the Cuff, I just want to say thank you to Joe Murray, Joe Sanchez, and to all the folks that were paying attention while we were live and commented. Thank you guys for tuning in.
God bless to everyone.
For helping us out. And have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Later,
Good night.
Thank you.